Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Upgrade to Chef Infra Client 18. My name is Jordan and I'm in marketing here at Progress. Now I'm going to turn it over to today's presenters, Sudarshan and George.
Thanks a lot, Jordan. Welcome, everybody. I'm Sudarshan Kaushik, and I'm part of the product management team at Progress. I'm the product manager for the Chef Infra products. With me, I have here George. George, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sudarshan. My name is George Westwater. I'm one of the directors of engineering here at Progress Chef, specifically the director with responsibility over Chef Client and Infra Server. So glad to be here talking to everybody today about Chef 18. So as we start, I do want to give a big shout out to our entire community of users. Whether you're just a user or a contributor to the platform, we really appreciate everything you've done for us. We've called out a few names here, and if you don't see your GitHub ID tagged here, that is not representative of everybody who committed. We want to thank everybody who helped us test, who helped us commit, who maybe raised PRs or added features to Chef 18. So thank you very much for all of your contributions and all of your support throughout the community and users. Do want to spend a little bit of time talking about an agenda and just kind of set the stage here for all the conversations and items we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about a quick introduction to Client 18, some of the reasons that, some of the new features, some of the exciting items. We're also going to cover the deprecation of old versions, and then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the features, such as unified modes, secrets management. And of course, we're going to end the conversation with why you should upgrade and what's coming next in our roadmap. So as we do this and we move on, I want to talk a little bit about that introduction to Client 18 and make a few callouts. This by no means is all of the features or all of the items that are relevant, just the ones that we wanted to highlight first here. So Chef Client 18 was released in October 2022, and it does now support Ruby 3.1. So the entire Infra Client suite for Chef 18 is now benefits from all of the upgrades and the benefits from Ruby 3.1. We'll hear a little bit more about those later. We also have a new sophisticated set of REST partial resources that support to give you advanced control and advanced customization of remote control and remote configuration of resources that support a REST-like protocol. And we do have some exciting changes and implementations around integrations with secrets management. And Sudarshan later in the session here is going to cover a little bit more why that's important and why we think those features are exciting and of benefit to you. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to Sudarshan to start jumping into some of the details, and I look forward to your questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thanks for setting the stage, George. Before we get to the features and amazing things that are available in the latest version of Client, we want to take a moment to talk about deprecations and end of life of old versions. With the release of Chef Infra Client 18, the support lifecycle of versions lower to that stand changed. Chef Infra Client 16 reached end of life status on November 2022. During the time of launch of 18, we encourage all our customers on 16 or lower versions to plan for upgrading their client installations for getting continued support from Chef. We have changed the support lifetime for Chef Infra Client 17, which was originally scheduled to go into end of life in April 2023. Chef Infra Client 17 will continue to be support up until April 2024. We have extended the support times there. However, to access all new features and latest of Chef, we highly recommend our customers to upgrade into Infra Client 18. We are going to talk about the first big thing in the Client 18. For those of you who have been using the new versions of Chef Infra Client always, would be familiar with the unified mode. It was first introduced in version 16. It was not enabled by default in version 17, but rather people had to manually toggle to that mode. But starting with Chef Infra Client 18, unified mode will be enabled by default. In earlier versions, when compiling custom resource scope blocks, there were two passes required since converging was a separate step. Prior to the introduction of unified mode, there was a need for users to understand the inner workings of Ruby parser while creating content and utilizing resources. With unified mode, the complexity is eliminated by performing one single pass irrespective of the resources. This is not to take away that several aspects of the Chef Infra DSL will continue to work as it was, but not necessarily needed to delve deep into to create content. The intention with reducing the complexity is to ensure enhanced approachability for less advanced users by reducing the entry barrier and not needing to understand the inner workings of Ruby. We are encouraging more and more users to start easily working with Chef Infra. For example, Users can easily trap exceptions that arise from resources using regular Ruby rescue blocks. Users can factor in cleanup, retries with great control. This unified mode makes this possible. Let's go to the next feature that we want to talk about. This has been a pretty requested feature by the time we had made it GA. We understand that a lot of enterprises are moving towards using specialized tools for managing the secrets across devices and nodes to ensure that the users can easily fetch any secrets that might be required for them while performing actions or creating content. Or we are providing a helper method that can be used in any recipe or resources. With these helpers, customers can now directly fetch the secret they require for the context of that recipe or resource from the vendor of their choice. At present, we support AWS Secrets Manager, Achilles Vault, Azure Key Vault, and HashiCorp Vault. So that brings us to updates on resources. With more and more enterprises utilizing SE Linux, we have added a bunch of resources specifically for performing actions on SE Linux. You can now utilize resources in your recipes to install packages, set Boolean values, permit some domains, set file contexts, or assign network ports, or even manage system states. You can also make SE Linux policy modules easily from either cookbooks or just a string. We have also taken this opportunity to merge some updates to existing resources. It's now easy to disable user accounts on Linux by specifying the expiry date or the number of days after a password expiry the user should get disabled. LaunchD no longer mandates a system restart and can run at load. Users can now provide Ruby gem URLs to utilize internal Ruby gem sources if they cannot access the default Ruby gems in case maybe they are working out of air-gapped environments or any other reason. Internal package cache are now flushed whenever registered with Red Hat Satellite. Also, Infra Client will now create directories that are not present but are defined. We'll take a moment to do a shout out to all the community members who helped us in shaping up all the helpers and the resources that we were talking about. Thanks a lot to our community customers. So we have also taken this opportunity to change support for some platforms that are no longer supported by the corresponding vendors and produce packages for different platforms. Alma Linux 8 has replaced CentOS 8, older versions of Windows 8 and 32-bit architecture have been dropped, while we have added support for AX 7.3 and Amazon Linux 2022. That brings us to the next big question, sir. Why you should be upgrading. Apart from all the features that we were talking and the amazing new access that you will be getting, one of the crucial things that we want to highlight here is that you will be able to access working on the latest Ruby. The latest Ruby comes with a host of advancements, fine-tuning, and most importantly, security fixes. It has been reported that there is significant performance improvement when running cookbooks on Ruby 3.1. So we really highly recommend our customers to upgrade and start utilizing these. Not to mention that the more you adopt the latest versions of our software, you get access to easier feature releases or minor upgrades that we'll be providing and enhancements that will be made available to you. So please upgrade to the latest versions as soon as possible. We spoke about the amazing things that are there in Client 18. We would like to take this opportunity to talk about some of the new projects that we have been working on and are in the pipeline for launching soon. The first one being ad hoc job orchestration. This is a feature that we are very excited about. It has been in the works for a while, and we cannot wait for launching it soon and giving it to you on your hands and enabling you to use them. So ad hoc job orchestration is our solution to give users the control over when they want to run a job, where they want to specifically run it in a target level, and what different actions that they would be liking to perform. We expect this to be a powerful tool that our users can utilize Chef for performing both planned and reactionary work. So just to reiterate, we are going to enable customers using ad hoc job orchestration to control job executions to multiple dimensions, your what, when, and where. This is something that we believe is going to be exceptionally useful for our customers. Um, we are targeting to provide this tool to our customers for using any of our Chef tools, either on demand or scheduled or on recurring basis. These can range from routine maintenance jobs to sudden reactionary work that needs to be performed immediately on targeted sections of their fleet, or complex orchestrations that involve rules for executing multiple actions in a desired manner. You can see some of the rudimentary examples that we are talking about here. It could be as simple as changing regular work, like your changing roles or upgrading versions, or it can go to executing multiple workloads based on conditions like CPU memory and other things of that sort. With the new orchestration facility, we expect it to be seamless for our customers to use a single or combination of multiple workloads together as they need. So this is going to enable our customers in a very easy way to harness the length and breadth and depth of infra and compliance all in one go. As you can see, it will enable customers to make complicated orchestrations that require both compliance scanning, cookbook remediations, or configuration changes that need to be done on those nodes. So how are we planning to deliver Courier, the ad hoc job orchestration tool? It is going to be through a new feature that we are working on called as node management. Node management is going to be a single pane of glass for managing all nodes on your fleet and bringing Chef into each of those nodes the way you like to roll them out. The new services and agents will work seamlessly along with existing installations. This will enable all our users to easily install and upgrade all our tools through simple clicks of a mouse button. Perfect. So that brings us to the section for questions. I will turn it back to Jordan here for helping us through the questions.
Thank you, Sudarshan and George, for your presentation. We're going to go ahead and jump right into questions. If you haven't done so already, you can now go ahead and add your questions in the questions panel. Kicking it off with the first question, will there be any other release of Client 17?
So yes, Client 17 will be continuing to receive support, like we said. Client 17 will get all the CVEs and security fixes or bug fixes that we'll be backporting to Client 17. Yes.
Excellent, thank you. And how long will Client 18 be supported?
So at present, we are working on a release cadence that will make us work towards a more supportable fashion for our customers and a more predictable pattern. So Client 18 will be supported up until we say otherwise, and we work on a different cadence if we say otherwise.
Awesome. And moving on to the next question here, will there be another release of Infra Client when new Ruby version is released?
Yeah, so George, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that this sort of goes off what Sudarshan was saying about the goal here with major releases for Chef moving forward is to give you a larger, longer life cycle that makes the most sense and start to detach the major client releases of Chef Client from the major or minor releases of Ruby. So we are working on some architectural ways to insulate those changes so that we can stay on version 18 longer, but still bring the customers the benefit of Ruby 3.2 while still maintaining the same Chef major release. So at this point in time, we're still working through the technical details of that, of the challenge and making sure that we're insulating you from any changes in the Ruby runtime. But the plan going forward is to slowly break down that. So we will take Ruby runtimes and upgrades as soon as we can while maintaining a major release of Chef.
Thank you, George. And next question here, are there any plans of adding more integrations in secrets management?
So at present, we do not have a plan of adding more and more integrations, but we would like to hear from you, our customers. If you want us to add specific platforms that you will like to be supported, we are glad to add that into our roadmap.
Thank you. And next question here, it's a nice long one, so bear with me. Referring to secrets management, does that include the scenario where systems on AWS can leverage the Azure Key Vault to obtain a secret to access an Azure secret while running on a different cloud platform?
That is a fantastic question. So the way that the secrets management currently work for Azure Key Vault is it's making the assumption that by default that it's running inside of Azure because it's using your internal identity and control areas. That doesn't mean that that's a scenario outside of what the scope of what couldn't be supported, but that's not the original, the original intent of that resource. So we'd love to have a deeper conversation with you around what your use case is, how you're currently handling that security and the identification from AWS to Azure, and make determinations on where we could fit that in as either a feature enhancement or otherwise.
Excellent, thank you. Next question here, for push-based management, how will the infra authenticate the remote systems to be able to command the nodes to take action? Can this be scheduled, and can these schedules be varying for different nodes due to applications or production services?
So I believe there are two different questions here. I'll take one, and George can take another one. So I'll talk about can we be scheduling it? Yes. So we are going to enable customers to schedule on a fine-grained level. You can do schedules with exceptions if needed. You can do recurring jobs, so the idea is that you will be able to schedule the jobs the way you want it to be. I think the next question is about how it will authenticate with remote systems. George, do you want to take that one?
Absolutely. So even though you will have both push and pull capabilities with Courier, it still does require an agent being on that machine. So when we think about push-based actions, those are going to be across an HTTP protocol that will then authenticate the same mechanism that node management and other agent services are on that area. So you'll have the same securities and controls that you'd have from running Chef Client, with the capability to either independently exercise a job on a machine at that moment, or to schedule one for near instantaneous delivery through a queuing system.
Perfect, thank you. For node management, can this view be granulated to allow delegation of this to system owners?
So I would like to ask a follow-up here, if possible, or so that we don't make the wrong assumption. Are we asking about specific user-level access, fine-grained organization-level access here for specific features? If that is so, maybe we can continue that. George, you
Sure.
think that makes sense?
The way that I read that question, I think, is we'd like to democratize the people who can run jobs using the ad hoc job scheduling system where they could self-service or handle those capabilities. In that case, from the standpoint of both the APIs and the server-side RBAC controls, we're working towards that scenario. Whether that will make the initial MVP release or a subsequent feature release where we would focus on those enhancements, we can't specify yet. However, we are looking for this ad hoc scheduling system as a mechanism for you to distribute the workloads of scheduling, running both ad hoc and potentially even reoccurring jobs.
Perfect, thank you. And again, we'll follow up if there was more to that, if I see a follow-up to that come in. Next question here, when on the roadmap will the capability of the nodes to rotate or update their PEM hashes so that the authentication between nodes and infra maintains a level of security?
It's a pretty interesting question. We've been asked this in terms of PEM key rotation and files. This comes in an interesting conjunction with how Courier is designed to operate in. George, do you want to take this?
So there's a lot of nuance in this question, and I'd love to have a follow-up to understand exactly how you're handling this. There are two architectural components we're working towards right now for allowing PEM file rotation. We know that this is super important, and customers are consistently concerned about secrets rotation. One of them is potentially doing that through a Courier job and using mechanisms inside of that, so that ad hoc scheduling system that we were talking about, being able to rotate, have a job specifically for rotating key credentials. The other one is that node management infrastructure component that Sudarshan was mentioning about being able to remotely add and remove and upgrade services, that Chef services, onto machines. There's also some opportunity there for us to do scheduled rotations from that perspective. So we're approaching it from two different architectural ways right now with possibilities. Look for a more definitive suggestion moving forward in the future as these features come out with a more recommended path. But if you'd like to explore those details and talk about your particular use cases, please reach out. We'd love to have that conversation.
Excellent, thank you. Next question here, can you share a public page on ad hoc job orchestration and node management so I can go through more details?
Yes, so this is a project that's still in the works, and if you are really interested, we are in the process of lining up people for early access or interviews to understand their use cases. So, I assume that you will be interested, and then do drop a note in the chat if you are interested in having this conversation and taking it forward. We do not have a public interface yet for this. We will be soon, the moment we announce a public beta.
Thank you. Next question here. Do you have a comparative page on Chef orchestration versus Ansible orchestration?
Again, so I think this is a follow-up for the previous question. So we do not have any public information at this point of time. Happy to have a private conversation. We have a bunch of assets that we would like to showcase to you, and would really like to understand why you would like to compare it with Ansible, and if you are looking for very specific features that you would like to compare against. We would like to have a conversation with you around that, but nothing public yet.
Perfect.
Sorry.
Thank you, Sudarshan. Next question here for the secrets management with HashiCorp Vault, any integration with data bags or concerns? In our scenario, it's the April ID and App Secret ID should also be obscured. I don't know if you guys can see that in the chat.
Yeah.
With the,
so
perfect.
I'll take a cut at this one here. So this is one of those other follow-up questions I'd like to have to understand a little bit more about your architecture. But we do understand that what I'll loosely call the secret zero problem is something that our customers are most concerned about. Is if I'm going to be navigating over to HashiCorp Vault, how can I authenticate successfully against that and prevent those secrets and other components? There are some patterns that we can suggest you implementing. The resource itself is a Chef resource to be able to pull those in. So there's a segregation between data bags and the secrets management resource. So love to have a little bit more of a deeper conversation with you, either on Slack or setting up a meeting to understand a little bit more about the use case and give you some known patterns that we can help you out with that scenario.
Excellent. And I think we have time for another question here. When is the job orchestration feature planned to be made available?
Like I said, we are in the advanced stages of trying to work with early adopters. We, at this very moment, we are accepting people to get on board and work with us for early access or early adoption, and have conversations with us to understand their use cases and see a fitment and get this forward before we actually do a public beta or a generally available release.
Excellent. Thank you.
So if you're interested, do drop us a note and we'll have a conversation with you about this.
Perfect. And that is all the time we actually have today. So if we didn't get to your question, we'll make sure to follow up with you directly. Thank you all for joining us on today's webinar, and we really hope you enjoy the rest of your day.